Tonight, people all across the country have their eyes on Columbia after this USC student was tragically abducted and murdered last week. 21-year-old Samantha Josephson was found dead on Friday. The coroner's office says Samantha died of multiple sharp force injuries. Investigators say she called an Uber to take her home early Friday morning, but got into the wrong car. That moment was caught right here on surveillance footage in the 5 Points area, very close to USC's campus. You see the highlighted area showing Samantha on the curb, phone in hand. A black Chevy Impala pulls up. You see her walk to that car, open the door, and get into the back seat. Now, that same day, later that day, a group of hunters found her body in a rural area of Clarendon County. That's about 65 miles away from where Samantha was last seen in Columbia. Investigators say the murder suspect, Nathaniel Rowland, has lived in that area. And here's a look at him, a mugshot. Police say they found Samantha's blood and her cell phone in his car, that Chevy Impala. Now, police have not released a motive in this case, and reports we obtained show she had wounds from her head all the way down to her feet.
Last night, a group of students and staff gathered on the USC campus for a candlelight vigil in Columbia. Her parents were there along with friends and her boyfriend, who shared the last conversation he had with Samantha.
The last words she said to me over FaceTime on Thursday were that I was her person and that she loved me and that she could truly be herself around me, and I'm just thankful that she brought that out in me too. And I thank you guys so much. It's so comforting to see how many people showed up.
Now, in light of this horrific tragedy, colleges across the state are working to improve rideshare safety. Rideshare companies are too. Uber rolled out a new safety feature last year, which is available in some parts of the state right now. And colleges are urging students to use safety apps, which alert friends and family if something goes wrong. And our own Brooklyn Cromer has been following this story, and she talked to Clemson University Police today.
Yeah, and Brooklyn is joining us live here in just a moment, talking about some tips that they have for students in response to this tragedy. And Brooklyn, I can imagine for parents who've sent their kids to college and for the students themselves, a lot of people have to really be on edge and really wondering what is the safest way to take Uber or Lyft.
Yeah, definitely. And Samantha's death has definitely raised some big questions, some big fears for students who use ride shares. Now, both USC and Clemson have been vigilant in wake of her death, to urging students to ask questions and telling them to travel in pairs before getting into an Uber or a Lyft.
I've gone through this, and I don't want anybody else to ever go through this again. I can't tell you how painful this is.
A dad's message heard loud and clear. Seymour Josephson spoke to a crowd of USC students on Sunday night, just 2 days after his daughter's body was found. Columbia police say Samantha Josephson was killed after getting into a car she believed to be her Uber.
You guys have to travel together. At night, she had absolutely no chance. None. The door was locked. The child safety lock was on. She had absolutely no chance in this.
Uber rolled out an emergency button which is available in 3 places in South Carolina, including Cherokee County, Charleston, and Richland County. If a driver or rider uses the button, key details like the caller's name, make and model of the car, and GPS location are sent to 911. Clemson and USC also use the Rave Guardian app, which is one of numerous personal safety apps available.
And that allows for the student to actually notify a friend or a family member or even the police department when they're leaving a situation. And if they have not reached their destination in the appropriate time, it will alert that friend or that family member, and they can actually either call them or they can reach out to the police, and it also shows exactly where they are.
And just up the road, hearts are heavy. It's a loss felt across the state, and it's bigger than any rivalry. Chief Mullen with Clemson University Police Department says it's a tragic reminder that bad things can happen anywhere, and urges students to stick together when they go out. and report anything that seems strange.
I think it gives us all a wake-up call that no matter where you are, what environment you're in, that these types of situations can occur, that there are evil people that want to do bad things, and we have to be as vigilant as we can to make sure that we're not only protecting ourselves, but we're also looking out for our friends and colleagues.
And President Pastides sent a letter to USC students today asking them to follow a pledge to never use a rideshare service without following some very important safety tips. Cody?
So, Brooklyn, what tips are mentioned in this letter?
Well, the letter urges students to make sure the license plate, the driver's photo, and name all match up in the app before anyone gets into an Uber or a Lyft. Now, these are, of course, important tips for students and anyone who uses a rideshare program. Live in Greenville, Brooklyn Cromer, Fox Carolina, the 10 o'clock news.
And we will talk much more about that story throughout the newscast tonight. But this is another huge story in our state and across the country. We are hearing from Renaya Wright's father. She's the fifth grader who died from injuries sustained in a classroom fight 1 week ago. According to investigators, Renaya was involved in a classroom fight last Monday. She was flown to the hospital where she died 2 days later from her injuries. Governor Henry McMaster spoke about this case today, saying between this case and the case of the USC student being killed, it has been a very difficult week in South Carolina.
Well, I think the message has gone out loud and clear. This is tragic. We've had two incidents recently, one in school where a young girl was hurt, and another down in 5 Points where a young woman was killed. It's tragic. Words cannot express the feelings that people have about those tragedies.
Renaya's father, Jermaine Van Dyke, who you see right here, and his attorneys held a joint news conference earlier today, and they held it outside Forest Hills Elementary School, where his daughter attended. Van Dyke and many other parents are now begging for answers, really demanding answers about how this happened.
I wanted just to find out what happened, how it happened, and who was involved.
Was informed that there had been an incident at the school and that he needed to report to Colleton County Medical Center. Unfortunately, by the time he got there, which was 20-30 minutes later, he was informed that she was no longer there and had been medevaced down to MUSC. Again, those were the only bits of information provided to him at that point. That led to 7 straight days of emotion that brings us here today.
As of now, no charges have been filed and no arrests have been made in Wright's death. Her funeral is set for Wednesday. And we'll hear more from Renaya's father coming up in the next half hour at 10:30. And of course, we will have continuing coverage on this developing story. As we learn more, we'll bring you the latest on air and online at foxcarolina.com.
Continuing to cover our counties here at 10, troopers closed part of Highway 25 this afternoon in Greenville County because of a chemical spill. This is a look at the crew. They're on scene with DHEC as well, and that's the tanker truck there. It was closed around Bessie Road. Troopers say sodium hydroxide spilled onto the roadway. It's used to make a number of things such as explosives, soap, and petroleum products. Troopers say they'd been cleaning up the spill into late this evening. We are working to figure out if Highway 25 is back open.
Well, Rutherford County deputies need your help. They're trying to find a suspect they believe shot a man outside his home. Take a look. Deputies are looking for Casey Whitesides, and they say he's armed and dangerous. Investigators say Whiteside shot a man along Hines Road in Mooresboro on Sunday. Deputies say they were reporting to an incident at a nearby furniture store when the victim pulled into the parking lot pleading for help. The man was flown to Spartanburg Regional, where he remains in the ICU. If you know where Casey Whitesides is tonight, call 911.
Well, gunshots ring out and a school goes on lockdown, but it was coming from a nearby gun club. What those students are now doing to quiet the gunfire during school hours.
And some scary moments on one of the busiest interstates in the southeast. A partial bridge collapse. More on the dangerous close call for drivers.
Checking 1 2 3, checking 1 2 3 here right now at Hodges Elementary School. We're talking about guns in the area. Thank you.
Welcome back. Kendra is in the Weather Center right now talking about another change in the weather happening and a little bit of snow for at least some of us tomorrow, right?
Yeah, it's actually possible. It's not going to last all that long. It'll be kind of a wet snow, maybe mixed with rain at times, all from a low pressure that will be moving along the Carolina coast. We'll be on the colder side of that low, right on the northern edge, and that means that we could see that brief mix of snow and rain and maybe even a little full-blown snow before it's all gone. By 6 p.m., it's going to be well away from our area, but it's really that time frame from mid-morning to lunchtime that we'll have our best chance of getting some snowflakes. So here we go, around 36 to start the day. Temperatures will stay above freezing throughout the entire event in the upstate. So wherever we do see a few flakes fly, should not have any problems, and the ground's very warm, so anything that falls would melt on contact. 31 in the mountains though, so any snow that we see there would likely stick just briefly, and then we'll see temperatures warm to around 50 by 4 o'clock. 54 in the upstate. Of course, you can always head to foxcarolina.com for your interactive radar and download the Fox Carolina News app for much more on the forecast as we go forward. You'll want to stay tuned to your app tomorrow because wherever it does start snowing in the upstate, we'll send an alert straight to the app, guys.
All right, Kendra, thanks so much. We do want to get to breaking news right now, just down the road from our studio here on Pelham Road. Troopers are on the scene of what they're describing as a hit and run involving a pedestrian. Now, Greenville County Dispatch confirmed that they were helping respond to a vehicle versus pedestrian. And according to the Highway Patrol's real-time traffic website, this is categorized as a hit and run. But this is right there in the 3500 block near the BP. And I believe we have our tower cam so you can look at an aerial view here of this, Diana.
And you can see just a large scene there. Of course, Pelham Road is, 4 or 5 lanes across. This thing, you have that middle turn lane and then a couple of lanes on either side. So getting across this as a pedestrian through that stretch, it is dark out there. There are obviously, you've got businesses on both sides. You've got the gas station there. You've got some restaurants as well. A lot of cars traveling through that area. And you can see just from above here, vehicles are traveling there in the right-hand lanes going very, very slow, approaching that intersection. So if you plan to head out at any point, anywhere near Pelham Road, near Boiling Springs Road, you may want to take another way or just know that you're going to have to go really slow through that area as troopers are on scene putting together exactly what happened. As we learn more, of course, we'll bring it to you here on air through 11:30 and at foxcarolina.com. We're also web live right now. Well, kids fighting for change. Look at this. Tonight, a group of 4th graders went straight to their town leaders in Hodges asking for stricter gun regulation near their elementary school. Teachers and students say their school has been on lockout at least 5 times because gunshots were heard nearby. Now, the group made a video, and they've been working on projects for the last 2 years to try to prohibit shooting guns during school hours Monday to Friday.
Fox Carolina's Kayla Convoy is live in Hodges tonight. So, Kayla, what did the town council have to say after this meeting?
Well, they certainly expressed concern, but because Hodges is so small, much of the shooting is likely taking place in the county, which Hodges has no jurisdiction over. So now the mayor has agreed to talk with the Greenwood County Council and see what they can get done about this issue. And while doing so, he also assigned the kids a little project of their own. Students at Hodges Elementary are all too used to the loudspeaker announcements telling them they could be in danger.
Everybody was freaking out. They were asking a lot of questions and everybody was just going crazy.
Students read a list of lock-in and lock-down dates allowed to the shocked council, but for most of them and even teachers, none were as scary as the first.
It was several days after the Parkland tragedy, so we had to immediately go into lockout mode. I had students that were absolutely terrified. I mean, they were crying, they were praying, they were petrified.
It turned out to just be nearby gunshots, but they say the major problem is it keeps happening, and the more they get used to it, the less they react.
Last week when it happened during lunch, Miss Jarrett told us, and everybody just kept on talking. They listened for a second, and then they just sat there and they kept on eating and talking to their friends.
For parents, it's alarming. They're worried if it's not a false alarm, their child's guard won't be up.
They should be on point and aware, and that nonchalant attitude is, oh, we're good, it's just another day, back to classwork. Unfortunately, if it was a real situation, I would hope that they would be a little more fierce, so they'd be a little more on their game and on point.
She says far too often when asking about her daughter's day, she'll get a lockout answer. It means they can't have recess or go outside.
If we're cooped up all inside all day, everybody would just be really energetic and it would be hard to focus.
So teacher Jamie Jarrett decided to help do something about it with her 4th and 5th grade classes. She split them into groups, some looking up laws, others working on statistics, and others working on this video. Their main goal was to stop people from hunting or doing target practice on school days between the hours of 7 a.m. and 3:30.
When we have to go on a lockout, a lot of my kids are very concerned. They ask a lot of questions. It's hard to get their attention back because they're really kind of concerned about what's going on in the school around us.
That was just one of the many concerns brought up in the video that they did make. And with the mayor's hands tied, he's trying to help in other ways. He's hoping by spreading the message and getting the word out there that people will see this and they will know not to shoot guns in that area. Cody, Diana?
So, Kayla, you mentioned the project the mayor gave the students. So what did he challenge them to do at this point? He's keeping them involved in this, right?
That's right. He wants to keep very close communication with them so that they can figure out a way to do this. But he's also challenged them to come up with some creative slogans or some messages. There is a local fire station here that has a big sign outside. They want to put those messages up. So there will be 2 winners, and one will be on one side, the other on the other. Both of those winners will both not only have their slogan up for the whole town to see, but they will also get small gift cards. Reporting live in Hodges, Kayla Convoy, Fox Carolina, the 10 o'clock news.
Kayla, thanks. Remembering a baseball player tonight from right here in the upstate who collapsed on a USC field, how the student athlete is being remembered by those closest to him.
Plus, the Spartanburg County Sheriff says they want to track down a man who may have hit a woman in front of her children. Why they want to get this guy into custody.
Well, welcome back. In tonight's Most Wanted, police are searching for two suspects. They say pistol whipped and robbed a man of his watch worth tens of thousands of dollars. It happened Saturday night at Hickory Tavern on Fernwood Drive. The victim told Spartanburg police that two men walked up to him as he was walking to his Porsche. The victim then said one of those men hit him in the head with a gun and took his 18-karat gold watch worth about $35,000. The victim says the second time this $35,000 watch has been stolen. If you know anything about this, call Spartanburg Police.
Deputies need your help. They're trying to find a man they say punched a woman several times in front of her children. We sat down with the Spartanburg County Sheriff to get more on this case of domestic violence.
All right, Sheriff, who's tonight's Most Wanted?
Well, we got a gentleman that likes to punch on women. January the 3rd, he hit this lady, and he did it in front of their children. I don't know if it's his children or just her children. But domestic violence in itself is really horrible, but to put the children through that, you know, you teach them bad behavior when you do that. You teach some of the younger men that's how you're supposed to handle your trouble when you have arguments with your spouse, and that's certainly not the right way. But this Noberto Barcenas hasn't been heard from or seen from since, and you know, we want to make sure that he's not planning on coming back and hurting his spouse. But we have an active warrant on him, and if somebody can tell us where he is or just tell him to turn himself in, it's not that big of an issue as far as him getting bail, unless he's got other troubles, and it might be why he's hiding out. I don't know, but we need your help to find him.
How long have you guys been looking for this guy?
January the 3rd is when it happened, and here we are into April, and you know, it's a couple months, so we need to make sure that we get this guy behind bars so he doesn't do this to somebody else, of course. Yeah, I don't want him to come back in either and try to exact revenge on this girl.
So here's another look at Barcenas. So you see right there, if you have any idea where he might be, call the Spartanburg County Sheriff's Office or 1-888-CRIME-SC.
Remembering a 21-year-old USC student athlete gone too soon days after he collapsed at a USC campus. How he's being remembered by friends right here in the upstate.
And temperatures getting cool out there, Kendra.
They are. Not quite to snow kind of cool, but it is going to get chilly enough where we could see a few flakes tomorrow morning, even in the upstate. We've been talking about it. We'll go through it hour by hour again coming up.
There we go. Hello. Mic check 1, 2. Can you keep talking to me though? Yeah, it just gets quieter. Weird. Okay. No, no, no. Look. Ugh, today. Now you're just messing with me. It is a lot softer though. I think it's because it's stretched out.
I mean, I can put one of those like tall tables back over there, but I don't know if they'll just move again.
Now I can't hear him at all. There we go. Oh no. Yeah, I think. Let's hope that it just stays there. Okay.
Welcome back. We're continuing to follow breaking news here in Greenville County on Pelham Road, where troopers are on the scene of what they're describing as a hit and run right there in the 3500 block of Pelham, right in front of the BP station there before you get to the QT. At least one lane, inside lane, is blocked. Now, Greenville County Dispatch said this came in as a vehicle versus pedestrian. And again, troopers are describing this as a hit and run. We do not know the victim's condition at this point or a vehicle that's possibly involved here. But if you did witness this right there along Pelham Road, you can call this Highway Patrol, or you can call Crime Stoppers locally at 23 Crime. Again, that number is 23 Crime. As we get more information, we'll update you here on the air through 11:30 and at foxcarolina.com. We're streaming this live right now on our Facebook page as well. Diana?
Cody, thanks so much. Well, turning now to the weather, you're used to hearing about April showers. You also know today's April Fool's Day, but there is no fooling now. We're talking about April snows.
Yes, and it's something you don't hear about much, right? But it has happened before. So in April, we've actually had 10 instances where we've seen snow at GSP Airport.
Okay.
So just like on the official readings here, we've actually had measurable snow twice, 0.3 inches and 0.1, so never up to an inch. And it was back in the 1980s that we actually saw some of those light accumulations. The rest of the times that we had some snow in April, it was just a trace. It was barely enough to even register. And that's what we're expecting tomorrow. We're not expecting to see very much, if any, in some areas. The latest snowfall ever, if you're curious, it was not a measurable snow, but it did come down on May 7th, 1992. Or maybe you remember that day. How crazy to see snow in early May. Well, tomorrow morning, we'll have some showers moving in. There will be some snow mixed, and we could see some full-blown snow at some point during mid-morning close to the lunch hour, but it would move out very quickly. So by the time we head to the second half of the day, cool and sunny, so it's going to be a much easier drive home from work than it will be going to work. Of course, you can always download the Fox Carolina News app for the latest information throughout the day, as this will be an evolving weather situation. Good news is, though, not expecting any issues from any snow that falls, but it could be a little distracting as you're driving. So try to focus and don't look at the snow too long and have an accident or anything like that.
Kendra, thanks so much. We'll see you back here in a couple of minutes. But right now, a developing story. 21-year-old Parker Neff died doing what he loved. The coroner says number 13 collapsed on the baseball field Friday afternoon. He was a student at USC Salkehatchie in Allendale, but his roots right here in the upstate. And tonight we're hearing from people who knew this player both on and off the field.
Heartbreaking situation here, and Fox Carolina's Shale Ramin joins us now in the newsroom. So Shale, do we know what happened to him? He was just 21.
Very, very young, Diana. All we know is that the coroner says Parker collapsed Friday afternoon. An autopsy was done today, but we're still waiting on those results. His death shook so many people, including one childhood friend who says Parker had an incredible love for baseball, but an even bigger love for people.
We lost a good one.
Head Salkehatchie baseball coach Bubba Dorman says number 13 Parker Neff was a player you wanted on your team in the game of baseball and in the game of life.
I'd do pretty good, and then all of a sudden they hit me in the gut and knocked me to my knees. But Lord will get us through this.
The Salkehatchie men's baseball team lost a player Friday afternoon at practice. The coroner says number 13 Parker Neff suddenly collapsed on the baseball field and never got back up.
Just beautiful swing.
His coach remembers his devotion in every play, in every swing, but where Parker really shined, his plays of life.
I guess the unique thing about Parker, he made the people around him better.
That's how his childhood friend Alyssa feels, saying his genuine heart beat it for the people he loved.
I admire his devotion to the things in life that he cares about, but more so the people in his life. If you were his friend or his girlfriend or anybody, he was devoted to you no matter what.
They all say Parker made big strides as a baseball player, but when it came to being a person, he was the MVP.
You know, when you hear about these kinds of tragic deaths, everybody says that they were such a special person and everything, and of course they probably were, but Parker really is special. He was a 1 in a million guy, just so amazing.
Parker leaves behind his parents, his brother, and his girlfriend. We know he started his baseball career at North Greenville and then at USC Upstate before becoming a Sakahatchee Indian. Parker's funeral will be held at Redeemed Lutheran Church in Greer on Wednesday, and his friends say one thing is for sure: there will never be another Parker Neff. Cody.
Cheryl, thanks so much. An interstate bridge collapse at one of the busiest interchanges in the southeast is causing some big problems in Tennessee. So this is a look at where the railing actually fell off the bridge and onto a car below in Chattanooga. You see it right there. Now, no one knows really what caused this collapse at this point, but amazingly, the driver of that blue car is alive tonight. This could have been a lot worse, folks. This is a closer look at the damage to this car. Officials say timing likely saved this driver. Look at that. That driver was rushed to the hospital, and again with non-life-threatening injuries. And back here in the studio, I want to show you kind of where this is. If you're familiar, if you ever went from Atlanta to the Nashville area, you usually take this. So this is 75. That's the interchange right there. It's huge. It connects Chattanooga, Nashville, and Atlanta as well. So it's a big interchange there. So you can imagine it's a very busy interstate. And I want to take a closer look at this now. This happened at the interchange there, I-75 South, 24 West. So 24 is what connects Chattanooga to Nashville, making this again very important. It's a very important thoroughfare here in the southeast. In fact, the Chattanooga mayor reiterating just how busy of a section this is, tweeting in part, a frightening bridge collapse at one of the most heavily trafficked intersections in the country. That's where, again, 75 and 24 meet. But it's truly miraculous that no one was seriously hurt. Now, local media says the last time the bridge was inspected, that was in 2016, and in November of 2017, Tennessee's Transportation Commissioner called the split the, quote, worst intersection in the state. Now, the Tennessee Department of Transportation says they believe they can fix enough to get traffic moving again tonight. So that's what they're working on right now. But a permanent repair will take weeks. They still don't know, again, what caused this to happen. But tonight, the good news is we're not talking about a fatality or many fatalities, because this could have been a whole lot worse. Diana.
Cody, thanks so much. Really something to see that. Well, new information right now. Loved ones will say goodbye to Renaya Wright this week. She's the Low Country girl who died after a fight at school. Her father announced funeral plans this morning, and he also talked about the investigation into his daughter's death. Alongside his lawyers, Jermaine Van Dyke says he still needs answers in what happened to her inside a school classroom. We were in Walterboro today, and Fox Carolina's Brandon Lavorgna has the latest.
Well, Renaya's father gave a very short statement today, but it was still very emotional for him to stand up there. His attorneys say Van Dyke found out about the fight through his mother, and by the time he made it to the Colleton County Medical Center, his daughter Renaya had already been flown to Charleston. He says he still wants answers. The father of 10-year-old Renaya Wright, Jermaine Van Dyke, says he still needs answers.
And I'm here today looking for justice for my daughter.
According to investigators, Wright had been involved in a classroom fight last Monday. The Forest Hills Elementary School 5th grader died 2 days later from her injuries in Charleston.
And I wanted just to find out what happened, how it happened, and who was involved.
School officials said it's unclear what led to the fight, in which Wright was seriously injured. Van Dyke's attorney, Mark Pepper, says the family is not getting many answers.
We've been extremely disappointed. We've made multiple attempts to contact both law enforcement and the school district. We heard late Friday evening from the attorney for the school district that was brought on board. Unfortunately, he didn't have many answers.
The Colleton County Sheriff's Office has not released what kind of injuries Wright suffered. The Colleton County School Board members have said due to the ongoing investigation and student privacy laws, they cannot share specific details at this time.
We have spoken with the teacher that was in the class that day, a week ago today. We've also spoken with a few parents of the school children, and we are still compiling information.
Pepper says so far, though, their investigation suggests a pattern of behavior over the last several years involving altercations with students in that classroom, saying it appears that fights have happened on a regular basis.
Justice will be served, but this week, let's all come together and heal on behalf of Renai.
Brandon Livornia, Fox Carolina News.
Now, there have been no arrests made in this incident and no criminal charges have been filed in connection with Renaya's death. A spokesperson for the Colleton County Sheriff's Office says they still don't have an update today on her case, and it could be weeks until they do. Meantime, Renaya's funeral will be held Wednesday at noon at the Saint Center Ministries on Colson Street in Walterboro.
Well, Colorado has seen two of the nation's deadliest shootings, Columbine and Aurora. But while some are pushing for tougher gun laws, others argue it's way too far. We'll take a closer look ahead.
Plus, talk about a science lesson. One of the most well-known scientists in the world is in our area, and his classroom is a huge arena.
And there is that chance for snow. It'd be a wet snow and pretty quick, but we could see it across the upstate. We'll break it down hour by hour next.
Closed captioning sponsored by Bojangles. It's Bow time. You're watching the 10 o'clock news on Fox Carolina.
Welcome back. It's been a busy day across America, so here's a quick rundown of some of the top stories.
Starting in Arkansas, where a 14-year-old is in custody after shooting another student at school. Police say it happened this morning in the hallway of Prescott High School. The school district says the suspect brought a concealed handgun to campus and specifically targeted this other student. That teen was flown to a nearby hospital. No word on their condition.
In Chicago, protesters gathered outside the Cook County State Attorney's office after those charges against Jussie Smollett were dropped last week. Some demanded that State Attorney Kim Foxx step down, while counter-protesters defended Foxx. Smollett was initially charged with faking an alleged hate crime against himself.
In California, people got a shock after a small plane made an emergency landing on a street there. Fire crews say the pilot lost control after doing a touch-and-go maneuver at a nearby runway. Luckily, though, the pilot made a safe landing along the road and was not hurt. The plane also didn't crash or hit any cars. The NTSB, though, is investigating why this plane lost power. Well, a group of lawmakers in Colorado want to give the government new powers to confiscate guns from citizens.
Many local law enforcement officials are adamantly against the plan, and Fox News senior correspondent Alicia Acuna explains.
They could sentence me to my own jail, fine me, or just hold a contempt hearing to further this argument along. And honestly, I think any of those possibilities are out there.
Weld County, Colorado Sheriff Stephen Reams is not the only law enforcement official vowing to refuse to enforce the red flag law that today passed out of Colorado's democratically controlled legislature, but he has made the strongest statement against it.
Sheriff is also not a law-making position in our state. It's a law enforcement division.
The state's governor, Democrat Jared Polis, is expected to sign it. It will allow judges to order the temporary seizure of guns from persons considered a danger to themselves or others. Families and others could petition to remove that person's guns. The owner would have the option to protest. Otherwise, he would not be allowed to purchase or possess a firearm for up to a year, after which the weapon must be returned within 3 days. Currently, 14 states in the District of Columbia have extreme risk protection order laws. But in Colorado, 32 or half of the state's counties have declared themselves Second Amendment sanctuaries, calling it government overreach and a danger to their officers and their rights.
It has so many constitutional questions. I can't in good faith go forward and carry out a law that I believe puts constituents' constitutional rights at risk.
Proponents say red flag laws protect the public from violence and guard against suicides. One of the bill's sponsors is the father of a man killed in the 2012 Aurora Theater shooting. On Capitol Hill, the Senate Judiciary Committee recently held a hearing on red flag laws. A bipartisan proposal to create a federal version was introduced after the Parkland, Florida shooting in 2018, but failed. In Denver, Alicia Acuna, Fox News.
And you can always stay up to date with Fox Carolina News, even if you're away from your TV. Just download our free Fox Carolina News app. You can find it in the App Store or on Google Play. All new here at 10, students in Asheville got a chance to hear from one of the nation's most popular scientists tonight.
The U.S. Cellular Center hosted Extreme Weather, a conversation with Bill Nye, and the event was geared toward those in high school and middle school, and it focused on the effects of extreme weather and climate change. We spoke to organizers about why they brought the event to Asheville.
I think Bill Nye has a special place in a lot of our hearts as being Bill Nye, the science guy. And it's really an amazing opportunity for us to bring in this kind of caliber artist to an event like this, not only just to our city, but to the venue here itself. It's an event where you can come and not just be entertained or enjoy yourself, but also come and learn something and learn how we can apply those kind of things to our future generations.
Students under the age of 18 got their tickets for free, while chaperones and parents got a 50% discount.
Pretty cool stuff happening there. Well, I'll tell you, some kids excited tomorrow morning. They might get a glimpse of maybe a few flurries out there.
Yeah, I've had a few kids text me and ask, kids from our neighborhood and stuff asking, well, school might be closed tomorrow. I'm like, I don't think so. It's kind of I'd say a novelty event tomorrow.
Yeah, everybody will go, ooh, look, did you see the snow? We'll get hopefully some good pictures
Right,
of
that's
it.
what I'm hoping for.
Yes, and then it'll melt right away.
Pretty much. And we might even miss out on it completely in parts of the upstate. Just all depends on where some of those bands set up. I'll show you in just a second. Fox Radar 3D, though, is clear tonight. Going to show you the system here. We've got a low that's brewing off the coast, and we also have some upper level energy that's going to swing in. They're going to combine to create this system that's going to leave us on the cool edge of some of this moisture that may end up producing at least some chilly rain and some snow mixed in. You can see that low. It's going to be parked right off the coast as we go toward late morning. And there we go. Wintry weather across our area. The pinks indicating that where we'd have rain and snow mix. Some blues showing up in western North Carolina. This is the American model, and it pulls all of that out very, very quickly. So not expecting any accumulations from it in the upstate and the mountains. The moisture will be so sparse, there shouldn't be much accumulation there as well. Temperatures still well above freezing in the upstate. We're at 43 for Spartanburg, 49 in Greenville, 36 in Hendersonville. As the moisture moves in, though, what's going to happen, it's actually going to be falling into some dry air. It evaporates, and that's a cooling process. So as the moisture moves in, temperatures will drop even more. So we are looking at likely 30s by the time a lot of this is coming down. So notice at 6 a.m. we have a few showers in our southern periphery there. Some of that's going to try try to work its way north. This particular model, though, really trending farther to the east with the chance for snow in the upstate. Notice that we're looking at 9 a.m. We're seeing a little bit of that light snow for areas in the eastern upstate, but avoiding spots like Greenville, Anderson, and then it quickly rushes on off. On the backside of that, we could see a few light showers in the mountains and maybe a few snow flurries too. But in general, we're expecting to see at least some spots of snow activity in the upstate, mainly along I-85 and south. That's where you're going to see the better moisture source for that. So I think areas to the east, Union, Lawrence, you're going to have the best shot at it as compared to some spots a little farther to the north. And that's a little different. Normally, we're talking about south of I-85 not having as good of a chance for snow. This time, you guys have the best shot at seeing some full-blown snow. And it may not be a whole lot, may not last very long, and definitely is not expected to cause any problems. We'll have about a 40% chance of that tomorrow morning, between 30s and 40s as we go from 8 a.m. to noon, and then the afternoon, some nice clearing and temperatures in the mid-50s. So not feeling too bad by the time we get into the late afternoon hours. Right around 50 at 4 o'clock. We'll start off with a 30% chance of snow in western North Carolina. Rating the day was tough with this one, but we ended up giving it a passing grade with a 7, since the snow's not expected to cause problems, since the ground is so warm, and the fact that we're going to see a nicer afternoon. So bottom line, time frame for seeing any upstate snow would be between about 7 and 11. Will melt, so no road issues expected, and we're going to clear by the afternoon, so we'll get back up to near 60 degrees. It's amazing. This is a crazy spring day across our area. Best chance of seeing any snow will be south of I-85. And if you've been sniffling and sneezing, that tree pollen, it's still high. Hard to imagine forecasting snow while we're also talking about the allergy forecast. And as we look ahead to this weekend, it looks pretty good. In fact, near 80 degrees on Saturday and Sunday, but Sunday does bring a small rain chance. There we go for Saturday with 79, 78 on Sunday. Mid-70s in the mountains, but backing up a bit. Tomorrow morning, we might just see a few flakes fly, but that might be winter's final stand, because spring really looks to take over the rest of the week and into this weekend. Of course, you can always check in on the morning news from 4:30 to 9 for the latest on what's falling on radar.
Kendra, thanks. At the top of the hour, much of the country is mourning the loss of rapper Nipsey Hussle. Tonight, Los Angeles police are searching for the person who shot and killed him, and they say he may have known his killer.
And if someone lived on Mars, what would their house look like? More of the out-of-this-world competition that might make you think of the Jetsons. Hives all over. Hi. Thank you.
Welcome back. Happening now. People in Hendersonville want victims of child abuse to know they are not alone.
Today, Advent Health worked with Prevent Child Abuse America to do Pinwheels for Prevention. You see it right here. It's an annual event where the public helps to create a pinwheel garden. It's all to raise awareness of child abuse and neglect. And we talked to organizers there about what these pinwheels represent.
The pinwheel was adopted back in 2005 as the symbol for National Child Abuse Prevention Month. Here at Advent Health, it's very important that we bring this topic out to light, this often very taboo topic. We want people to know, we want children to know if something's happening to you, it's okay to talk about what's going on. It's okay to talk about their abuse.
According to Advent Health, more than 4 children die every day across the U.S. from child abuse and neglect. And they hope this night people all across the country have their eyes on Columbia after this USC student was tragically abducted and murdered last week. 21-year-old Samantha Josephson was found dead on Friday. The coroner's office says Samantha died of multiple sharp force injuries. Investigators say she called an Uber to take her home early Friday morning, but got into the wrong car. That moment was caught right here on surveillance footage in the 5 Points area, very close to USC's campus. You see the highlighted area showing Samantha on the curb, phone in hand. A black Chevy Impala pulls up. You see her walk to that car, open the door, and get into the back seat. Now, that same day, later that day, a group of hunters found her body in a rural area of Clarendon County. That's about 65 miles away from where Samantha was last seen in Columbia. Investigators say the murder suspect, Nathaniel Rowland, has lived in that area. And here's a look at him, a mugshot. Police say they found Samantha's blood and her cell phone in his car, that Chevy Impala. Now, police have not released a motive in this case, and reports we obtained show she had wounds from her head all the way down to her feet.
Last night, a group of students and staff gathered on the USC campus for a candlelight vigil in Columbia. Her parents were there along with friends and her boyfriend, who shared the last conversation he had with Samantha.
The last words she said to me over FaceTime on Thursday were that I was her person and that she loved me and that she could truly be herself around me, and I'm just thankful that she brought that out in me too. And I thank you guys so much. It's so comforting to see how many people showed up.
Now, in light of this horrific tragedy, colleges across the state are working to improve rideshare safety. Rideshare companies are too. Uber rolled out a new safety feature last year, which is available in some parts of the state right now. And colleges are urging students to use safety apps, which alert friends and family if something goes wrong. And our own Brooklyn Cromer has been following this story, and she talked to Clemson University Police today.
Yeah, and Brooklyn is joining us live here in just a moment, talking about some tips that they have for students in response to this tragedy. And Brooklyn, I can imagine for parents who've sent their kids to college and for the students themselves, a lot of people have to really be on edge and really wondering what is the safest way to take Uber or Lyft.
Yeah, definitely. And Samantha's death has definitely raised some big questions, some big fears for students who use ride shares. Now, both USC and Clemson have been vigilant in wake of her death, to urging students to ask questions and telling them to travel in pairs before getting into an Uber or a Lyft.
Gone through this, and I don't want anybody else to ever go through this again. I can't tell you how painful this is.
A dad's message heard loud and clear. Seymour Josephson spoke to a crowd of USC students on Sunday night, just 2 days after his daughter's body was found. Columbia police say Samantha Josephson was killed after getting into a car she believed to be her Uber.
You guys have to travel together. At night, she had absolutely no chance. None. The door was locked. The child safety lock was on. She had absolutely no chance in this.
Uber rolled out an emergency button which is available in 3 places in South Carolina, including Cherokee County, Charleston, and Richland County. If a driver or rider uses the button, key details like the caller's name, make and model of the car, and GPS location are sent to 911. Clemson and USC also use the Rave Guardian app, which is one of numerous personal safety apps available.
And that allows for the student to actually notify a friend or a family member or even the police department when they're leaving a situation. And if they have not reached their destination in the appropriate time, it will alert that friend or that family member, and they can actually either call them or they can reach out to the police, and it also shows exactly where they are.
And just up the road, hearts are heavy. It's a loss felt across the state, and it's bigger than any rivalry. Chief Mullen with Clemson University Police Department says it's a tragic reminder that bad things can happen anywhere, and urges students to stick together when they go out and report anything that seems strange.
I think it gives us all a wake-up call that no matter where you are, what environment you're in, that these types of situations can occur, that there are evil people that want to do bad things, and we have to be as vigilant as we can to make sure that we're not only protecting ourselves, but we're also looking out for our friends and colleagues.
And President Pastides sent a letter to USC students today asking them to follow a pledge to never use a rideshare service without following some very important safety tips. Cody?
So, Brookley, what tips are mentioned in this letter?
Well, the letter urges students to make sure the license plate, the driver's photo, and name all match up in the app before anyone gets into an Uber or a Lyft. Now, these are, of course, important tips for students and anyone who uses a rideshare program. Live in Greenville, Brooklyn Cromer, Fox Carolina, the 10 o'clock news.